Captain Michael Reed leaned back in his chair aboard the bridge of the USS Vanguard, Earth's flagship in orbit. His gaze shifted between the screens displaying star maps and the panoramic view of Earth below. The comm was abruptly interrupted by a proximity alarm. "Contact! Unknown object approaching fast!" shouted Lieutenant Jensen, the ship's navigator. Reed straightened in his chair. "On screen. Let's see who comes calling." The main view screen flickered, then displayed a sleek silver spacecraft, unlike anything humanity had constructed. Its design was elegantly alien, with smooth contours and a pulsing light that seemed to be scanning the Vanguard. "Open a channel," Reed ordered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline. Communications Officer Harper adjusted the settings. "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Michael Reed of the USS Vanguard representing the United Earth Space Command. Identify yourself and state your purpose," Reed broadcasted into the unknown. A moment passed before a response came. The alien's voice was metallic, yet unmistakably amused. "I am Commander Silrix of the Varkarian Scout Fleet. We observed your little planet and thought we'd take a closer look. Primitive, isn't it?" Reed's jaw tightened, but he maintained his composure. "We've worked hard for our place among the stars, Commander. What brings you to Earth?" "To learn, obviously," Silrix replied, his tone dripping with condescension. "We traverse galaxies, seeking out new species, though frankly, we expected more." Beside Reed, First Officer Davis bristled. "We might surprise you yet, Commander. We're adaptable and quick learners." Silrix laughed, a cold, echoing sound. "We shall see, human. We shall see." The screen went blank as the transmission ended. Reed turned to his crew, his expression resolute. "Thoughts?" Davis was the first to speak. "They're scouting, sir. Testing our capabilities, maybe even our defenses." "Agreed," Reed said, nodding. "Harper, send a report to Earth Command. Detail everything." "Yes, sir," Harper replied, already typing. "And Jensen, keep a constant track on their ship. I want to know their every move." "Understood, Captain." Reed stood, pacing slightly. "We need to show them we're not just a curiosity. We've got to prepare for their next move." Davis looked thoughtful. "They underestimated us, sir. Maybe that's an advantage. If they think we're primitive, they might not see us as a threat until it's too late." Reed stopped pacing and faced his first officer. "Exactly, Davis. We'll use that. Start preparations for a potential confrontation. I want scenario drills for all hands within the hour. We're not going to sit back and be laughed at, not in our own backyard." As the crew sprang into action, Reed felt a surge of determination. The Varkarians had thrown down the gauntlet, and humanity was more than ready to pick it up. It was their first real test among the stars, and he was determined not to let Earth down. Captain Michael Reed stood before the assembly of Earth's newly formed Interstellar Defense Council, a coalition of military and civilian leaders gathered in response to the Varkarian encounter. The large, circular room buzzed with the undercurrent of urgency as representatives from various nations waited for the briefing to begin. Reed adjusted the microphone in front of him and cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, we recently made first contact with an alien species calling themselves the Varkarians. The interaction was less than friendly." Murmurs filled the room. Reed clicked a remote, and the screen behind him lit up with the image of the Varkarian ship. "This is the scout ship that approached the USS Vanguard. Their technology is advanced, but not unbeatable." General Carter, head of Earth's defense forces, leaned forward. "What are their capabilities?" Reed nodded to Lieutenant Jensen, who had joined him with detailed scans. "Their ship is faster and appears to have energy shielding technology. However, there were vulnerabilities in their communication streams and energy outputs during our scans." A representative from Japan, Dr. Sato, raised a hand. "What is your recommendation, Captain?" Reed paused, choosing his words carefully. "We accelerate our own technological development. We can't afford to be caught off guard. I propose we begin Project Titan, a fleet of starships equipped with the latest in human innovation, designed for both defense and retaliation if necessary." The room erupted in whispers and nods of agreement. Funding and resources were debated, with the urgency of the situation pushing the council toward swift action. Meanwhile, Harper, who had been monitoring communications, interrupted the assembly. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission from the Varkarians." Reed excused himself and hurried to a secure communications room, with General Carter following. The screen flickered, and Commander Silrix's smirking face appeared. "Captain Reed, we see your planet is buzzing like a disturbed hive. Do not make the mistake of thinking you can challenge us. Reed stood firm. Commander Silrix, we seek peace, but we will defend ourselves if provoked. Silrix scoffed. Consider this, then, a friendly warning. Do not reach beyond your grasp, humans. The transmission cut off as abruptly as it had begun. Carter looked at Reed, concern etching his features. They're watching us, Michael. We need to be ready. Reed nodded. We will be. Let's get back to the council. It's time to put Project Titan into motion. Back in the council room, Reed presented the brief encounter with Silrix. The reality of their situation settled over the room like a heavy cloak. Decision-making accelerated. Project Titan was unanimously approved. Funds were allocated, and the world's best scientists were recruited. As the assembly disbanded, Reed met with his core team. We have a lot to do, and not much time, he stated gravely. Davis, coordinate with the engineering teams. Jensen, set up continuous surveillance on all known Varkarian activities. Harper, secure our communications. We can't afford any leaks. Each nodded, understanding the gravity of their tasks. The meeting ended with a sense of grim determination. Walking back to his quarters, Reed felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Humanity was on a path that could lead to unprecedented discovery or devastating conflict. Either way, he knew one thing. They would not face it unprepared. The metallic halls of the USS Titan resonated with the constant clang and hiss of construction. Captain Michael Reed walked alongside the chief engineer, Lieutenant Commander Franklin, inspecting the progress of the fleet's flagship. The air was thick with the smell of welding and the sharp tang of electric currents. Commander Franklin, report on the main armament installation, Reed said, his voice echoing slightly in the expansive hangar bay. We're on schedule, Captain. The primary energy cannons are installed, and we're calibrating the secondary missile systems now. They'll pack a punch, Franklin replied, pride evident in his voice. Reed nodded, satisfied. And the defensive systems? Shields are up and running at 70% efficiency. We're tweaking the algorithms for faster response times, but it'll hold against anything we've seen from the Varkarians so far. As they continued their walk, Reed's communicator beeped. He paused to answer it. Reed here. Captain, it's Harper. We've intercepted a Varkarian communication. You're going to want to see this, came the reply. Copy that. I'm on my way. Reed gestured to Franklin. Carry on, Commander. Keep me updated. Reed hurried to the communications deck, where Lieutenant Harper awaited with the intercepted message displayed on screen. The transcript was chilling. Plans for a preemptive strike against Earth's outer colonies, a clear indication that the Varkarians were not just observing but actively planning an assault. We need to warn the colonies immediately, Reed stated, the weight of command heavy in his voice. And get me General Carter. We need to discuss our defensive posture. Within minutes, Reed was connected to General Carter via a secure video link. The general's face was grim as he listened to Reed's briefing. We'll move some of our fleet to protect the colonies. And Michael, it's time to accelerate the training program for the Titan fleet. We can't wait any longer, Carter decided. Agreed. I'll start the simulations tomorrow. Our crews need to be ready for real combat conditions, Reed confirmed. Training commenced with relentless intensity. Captain Reed oversaw the simulation drills personally, pushing his crew to the limits of their endurance and beyond. The scenarios ranged from defensive maneuvers to full-scale combat, each designed to prepare the crew for the unpredictability of space warfare. In one such drill, Reed observed from the command center as the crew of the USS Titan responded to a simulated surprise attack. The bridge was a flurry of activity, officers shouting commands, data streaming across screens. Shields up! Redirect power from non-essential systems! Shouted Davis, now the Titan's executive officer. The simulation ended with the Titan narrowly avoiding a catastrophic hit. Reed debriefed the crew, his tone serious but encouraging. You're getting better, but we need to be faster. The Varkarians won't give us second chances. As days turned into weeks, the tension aboard the Titan grew palpable. Each crew member knew the stakes of their mission. They were not only defending their homes, but also representing humanity's first real stand against a galactic threat. One evening, as Reed gazed out at the stars from his office, a quiet knock came at the door. It was Davis. Captain, the crew's ready, Davis reported. They're scared, maybe, but they believe in this ship. In you. Reed offered a small smile, appreciating the solidarity. Thank you, Davis. That means more than you know. Together, they looked out at the vast expanse of space. The stars were no longer just points of light. They were arenas of their forthcoming trials. Reed felt the solitude of command, but also the unshakable resolve to protect humanity. Whatever the Varkarians brought, the Titan fleet would be ready. The command center of the USS Titan was tense with anticipation. Captain Michael Reed stood before his crew, the blue glow of the star map illuminating their determined faces. Today marked the beginning of their covert journey into the Varkarian star system, utilizing Earth's latest technological advancement, the experimental hyperspace drive. "All right, everyone, this is it," Reed began, his voice steady despite the flutter of nerves. "The jump coordinates are set. Our objective is to enter the Varkarian system undetected, gather intel, and if possible, disable their forward operating base. The success of this mission could very well determine the outcome of our conflict." Lieutenant Jensen, now the navigation officer, confirmed the coordinates with a nod. "Hyperspace route is locked in, Captain. We're ready to make the jump on your command." Reed took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Do it." Jensen initiated the sequence. The ship hummed with power as the drive began to charge, the sound growing louder until it was almost a roar. Then, with a sudden lurch, the stars outside stretched into lines of light as the Titan slipped into hyperspace. The journey through hyperspace was a nerve-wracking blur. The crew monitored the systems closely, aware that even the smallest miscalculation could strand them in unknown parts of the galaxy. Reed watched the readouts, his mind racing through scenarios, preparing for what they would face on the other side. After what felt like an eternity, the ship began to decelerate, the stretched stars slowing back into their familiar pinprick lights. "Exiting hyperspace in 3, 2, 1, Jensen counted down. The Titan emerged into the Varkarian system, a breathtaking vista of swirling nebulas and distant, twinkling stars. Reed's first order was a sensor sweep. "Harper, status?" Harper, focused intently on her console, replied, "No immediate threats detected. We're clear for the moment, but the system is busy. Several civilian and military crafts are in standard orbits around the fourth planet." Reed nodded, turning to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Morales. "Let's keep our signature low. Engage stealth protocols and set course for the outer defense stations. Morales, prepare the EMP charges. We might need a distraction." As the Titan crept closer to their target, the tension on board was palpable. Every crew member knew the stakes were high, and the margin for error was slim. Reed kept his eyes glued to the forward screens, watching as the outline of a Varkarian military outpost loomed into view. "We're in range, Captain," Morales reported quietly. "EMP is ready to deploy on your command." Reed considered their options. They needed more information before striking. "Hold on the EMP. Davis, take a team to the lower deck. Launch a reconnaissance drone. I want eyes inside that station." Davis saluted crisply. "On it, Captain." Minutes later, the drone was deployed, slipping silently away from the Titan and toward the Varkarian station. The crew watched the drone's feed, displaying the interior of the enemy base, bustling with activity but unaware of the human presence lurking nearby. "Looks like they're not expecting company," Davis observed, analyzing the feed. Reed agreed, his mind working through their next move. "Keep the drone on station. Morales, stand by with the EMP. We might still need that diversion." As they orbited discreetly, Reed's thoughts turned to the broader implications of their mission. Success here could shift the balance of power, giving humanity a fighting chance. Failure was not an option. He turned to his crew, his expression resolute. "Stay sharp. We're not just shadows in this war. Let's make sure they remember who we are." The determination in his voice bolstered the crew's morale, readying them for the trials ahead. Captain Michael Reed stood in the dim light of the Titan's command center, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The reconnaissance drone had provided valuable intelligence. The layout of the Varkarian outer defense stations, patrol timings, and most critically, their weak points. It was time to act. "Morales, are we ready?" Reed's voice cut through the tense silence of the room. Lieutenant Morales nodded, her hands steady at her console. "EMP charges are armed and ready for deployment, Captain." "Excellent," Reed acknowledged with a nod. "Initiate the attack sequence on my mark." The crew braced themselves as the countdown began. 3, 2, 1, mark. Morales executed the command, launching the EMP charges towards the Varkarian station. The devices detonated with a flash of blinding light, temporarily disabling the station's shields and communications. "Harper, confirm the status," Reed ordered swiftly. Harper's fingers flew over her console. "Direct hit, Captain. Their systems are down. We have a window of approximately 7 minutes before they can reroute power." Reed turned to his weapons officer. Lieutenant Jensen, target their main reactor. Use the precision lasers. I want minimal collateral damage. Jensen acknowledged, his focus absolute as he aligned the Titan's weapons. Target locked, firing in 3, 2, 1. A beam of concentrated energy pierced the void of space, striking the Varkarian station's reactor. The explosion was contained but devastating, effectively neutralizing the station without significant debris. Direct hit, Jensen reported, a slight relief in his voice. Reed didn't celebrate. His eyes were already on the next target. Morales, set course for the next station. We need to move quickly before they can send reinforcements. As the Titan moved to its next position, alerts began to sound. Incoming Varkarian military crafts, likely alerted by the sudden loss at their first station, were now converging on their location. Davis, deploy defensive drones, full perimeter, Reed commanded, his voice calm but urgent. Yes, Captain, Davis responded, coordinating the ship's defenses. The Titan shuddered slightly as the drones launched, forming a protective barrier around the ship. The Varkarian crafts closed in, their weapons charging for an attack. Brace for impact, Reed announced, watching as the enemy crafts fired. The space around the Titan lit up with the exchange of fire. The defensive drones intercepted most of the incoming blasts, but a few struck the Titan, rocking the ship. Damage report, Reed called out. Minor damage to sections 3B and 4C, no casualties, Harper relayed from her station. Reed nodded, his gaze returning to the forward screen. Morales, take us to evasive pattern Sigma. Jensen, keep firing as planned. We're not done here. The battle raged as the Titan skillfully maneuvered through the enemy lines. Each move was calculated, each strike precise. The crew worked seamlessly, their training and Reed's leadership guiding them through the chaos. After a grueling hour, the Titan emerged victorious, having disabled 2 more Varkarian stations and scattering their fleet. The success was clear, but the cost of the ongoing war loomed large. Set course back to Earth space, Reed finally ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of command. We need to regroup and assess our strategy. As the Titan retreated, Reed stood in contemplation, watching the stars streak by. The first strike had been a success, but it was just the beginning. They had shown the Varkarians that humanity was not to be underestimated, but Reed knew the real battle was still ahead. They needed to prepare for what was to come, and he would ensure they were ready. The atmosphere aboard the USS Titan was one of cautious vigilance following their successful strike on the Varkarian defense stations. Captain Michael Reed had anticipated a counterattack, and it wasn't long before his predictions materialized. The Varkarians, stung by the audacity and precision of the human offensive, launched a full-scale retaliation. Multiple inbound contacts, Captain, Lieutenant Harper announced, her eyes locked on the sensor panel. Varkarian warships, closing fast. Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations, Captain Reed commanded, his voice resonant through the ship's intercom. The crew sprung into action, the previous calm giving way to the urgent rhythm of a ship preparing for combat. Reed turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Morales. Prepare for defensive maneuvers. I want flak screens and countermeasures ready. Deploying now, Captain, Morales replied, her fingers dancing over the controls. The Titan shuddered as the first wave of Varkarian plasma fire streaked across her shields. The bridge crew watched as the shield integrity indicators flickered under the barrage. Shields holding at 75%, Jensen reported, monitoring the defense systems closely. Keep me updated on any fluctuations. Harper, open a channel to the fleet. We need coordinated fire on the lead Varkarian vessel, Reed ordered, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. The battle escalated as more Varkarian ships joined the fray, their advanced weaponry testing the Titan's defenses. Each explosion against the shield sent a tremor through the ship, a grim reminder of the enemy's power. Channel open, Captain, Harper confirmed. This is Captain Reed of the USS Titan to all ships in the vicinity. Concentrate fire on the Varkarian flagship. We take it down, and we break their morale, Reed broadcasted across the fleet. The human ships adjusted their positions, forming a tighter formation around the Titan. Unified, they unleashed a barrage of laser fire and missiles at the Varkarian flagship. The enemy ship, caught in the focused assault, began to falter. Direct hit on the flagship's engines. They're losing power, Morales exclaimed, a note of triumph in her voice. Press the attack. Don't let them regroup, Reed commanded, watching as the Varkarian fleet scrambled to cover their crippled leader. The battle raged around them, space lit up with the fires of war. The Titan and her sister ships maneuvered through the chaos, each volley from their cannons calculated to inflict maximum damage. Amidst the conflict, Reed remained a pillar of calm, directing his crew with precision. As the flagship's final defenses failed, a cheer went up from the Titan's crew. However, Reed remained focused. Scan for any additional threats. This isn't over yet. His caution was warranted. The Varkarians, desperate and enraged, launched a kamikaze strike towards the Titan. Reed's eyes narrowed. Brace for impact. All power to forward shields. The enemy ship barreled towards the Titan, a final act of defiance. The impact was lessened by the shields, but the shockwave sent tremors through the hull. Alarms blared as systems struggled to compensate. Damage report, Reed barked, steadying himself against the command console. Minor hull breaches in sections 7 and 9. No casualties. Shields at 50% and recharging, Harper reported, relief in her voice that the damage wasn't worse. Reed took a moment to assess the situation. The Varkarian fleet was in disarray, their flagship disabled, and their morale shattered. Signal the fleet to pursue. We can't let them escape to regroup. As the Titan led the charge, Reed felt a mix of satisfaction and solemnity. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The Varkarians would undoubtedly retaliate with even greater ferocity. He turned to his crew, their faces marked with fatigue yet resolute. We hold the line, he stated firmly. Prepare for repairs and be ready for the next engagement. This war is ours to finish. Under the cloak of nebula shadows within the Varkarian system, the USS Titan hid silently, its hull scars illuminated intermittently by distant starlight. Captain Michael Reed reviewed the tactical data with his senior officers in the dimly lit briefing room, their faces set with determination. We have a narrow window to strike at the heart of their command, Reed began, pointing to the holographic map floating above the table. This is the Varkarian Central Command Station, deeply fortified, heavily armed, and the brain of their military operations. Taking it out could effectively cripple their war efforts. Lieutenant Morales leaned forward, her eyes analyzing the complex structure on the display. Infiltration won't be easy. Their defense grid is almost impenetrable. That's where the Titan comes in, Reed replied confidently. We'll use the ship as a decoy, make them think we're launching a full assault. Meanwhile, a small team led by myself and Davis will infiltrate the station in a stealth shuttle. Lieutenant Jensen, the navigation officer, chimed in. We've got the shuttle prepped with the latest stealth tech. They won't see us coming until we're docking at their airlock. Reed nodded at Jensen, then turned to his executive officer, Davis. Once inside, our objective is to disrupt their command network and gather any intelligence on future operations. If possible, we'll capture their high command. Davis, a seasoned soldier and strategist, acknowledged the plan with a sharp nod. We'll need to be quick and quiet, plant the charges, grab what intel we can, and get out before they know what hit them. The team spent hours going over every detail, every contingency plan. As night shift approached, Reed dismissed the group, but pulled Davis aside. Keep sharp out there, Davis. I rely on you to watch our backs. Davis grinned, clapping Reed on the shoulder. Always, Captain. The following hours were tense as the Titan made its approach. The ship maneuvered close enough to deploy the stealth shuttle, all while unleashing a barrage of fire and missiles to distract the Varkarian defenses. As chaos erupted around the station, Reed and his team, cloaked in the shadows of the nebula, made their silent approach. The shuttle docked seamlessly, thanks to Jensen's expert piloting. The infiltration team, equipped with the latest in combat gear and stealth suits, moved through the enemy station with precision. They avoided patrols and navigated the complex corridors toward the central command hub. Reed and Davis led the way, disabling security systems and dispatching guards with non-lethal force where necessary. Harper, remotely supporting from the Titan, fed them real-time updates on enemy movements. They reached the command center without incident, planting explosive charges that would disable the Varkarian network systems. Meanwhile, Davis accessed a terminal, downloading critical data. Got something, Captain? Davis whispered, his eyes scanning the screen rapidly. Plans for a major offensive against Earth. Looks like they're gearing up for a final push. Reed's jaw tightened. Copy that. Let's finish this and get out before... Before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the station. They're on to us, Morales reported through their comms. Plan B now, Reed commanded. The team retreated, covering their tracks and heading back to the shuttle under heavy Varkarian pursuit. Explosions rocked the station as their planted charges detonated, crippling the command network. Amidst confusion and smoke, Reed and his team fought their way back to the shuttle, dodging enemy fire. They launched just as Varkarian reinforcements swarmed the docking bay, the shuttle's stealth systems masking their escape. Back aboard the Titan, the crew breathed a collective sigh of relief, but Reed remained focused on the screen displaying the crippled Varkarian station. "We've struck a significant blow today," Reed addressed his team, pride and resolve in his voice. "But the information we've uncovered means the real battle is still to come. Prepare for the next phase. This war ends with us." The command deck of the USS Titan buzzed with a controlled urgency as Captain Michael Reed and his crew prepared for what they knew would be the final confrontation of the war. The information retrieved from the Varkarian command station had revealed a looming massive offensive against Earth. The stakes had never been higher, and under Reed's command, the Titan and the rest of humanity's fleet were positioned to intercept the Varkarian forces before they could reach Earth. "Positions, everyone," Reed commanded, his voice resolute over the comm system. "This is where we hold them. This is where we fight for our home." Lieutenant Harper reported from her station. "All ships in formation, Captain. The Varkarian fleet is approaching." Reed nodded, taking a moment to glance at the faces of his crew, each member ready to do whatever necessary to protect their planet. "Signal all ships. Engage at will once in range. Prioritize capital ships. We cripple their leadership, and the rest will falter." As the Varkarian ships came into view, a sprawling mass of steel and lights against the backdrop of space, the human fleet unleashed a barrage of fire. Energy cannons roared, and missiles streaked across the void, marking the beginning of the final battle. The Titan shook as it absorbed and retaliated against the Varkarian onslaught. Reed remained focused, issuing commands and adjusting strategies on the fly. "Morales, reroute power to forward shields. Jensen, keep those cannons firing. We can't let them break through." The battle raged, a chaotic dance of destruction and defiance. The human fleet, united under Reed's leadership, managed to take down several Varkarian capital ships, but the enemy was relentless. The Titan itself became the focus of the Varkarian wrath, taking significant damage. "Shield integrity at 20%, Morales shouted over the din of alarms and explosions. Reed gritted his teeth. "Hold the line, everyone, just a bit longer." In a daring move, Reed commanded, "Prepare to ram the Varkarian flagship. If we take out their command, it ends now." The crew responded with a determined flurry of activity, securing stations and bracing for impact. The Titan, battered but unbroken, surged forward, piercing through the enemy lines toward the Varkarian flagship. The collision was monumental, the impact sending shockwaves through both ships. In the moments that followed, Reed led a boarding party onto the Varkarian flagship, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat. Amidst the chaos, Reed confronted the Varkarian commander, and in a tense standoff, managed to secure the enemy leader's surrender. With their flagship captured and their leader defeated, the Varkarian forces faltered. One by one, their ships ceased fire, communications flooding in seeking terms of surrender. Back aboard the Titan, as the reality of their victory sank in, cheers erupted throughout the ship. Reed, though weary, felt a profound relief and pride. He addressed his crew. "This victory is not just for us, but for all of humanity. You all stood together, fought together, and because of your courage, Earth remains free." As they set course back to Earth, the Titan limped home, a testament to the resilience and bravery of its crew. Captain Reed looked out at the stars, knowing that this war had changed humanity forever. They had faced extinction, and had not only survived, but had triumphed. The future was uncertain, but for now, they had earned their peace.